maybe.
I like your boots there.
Thanks.
It goes with our project a little.
I know it does. Yeah. Well, studs are very good.
What do you think?
Well,
We should buy them.
I can get it on my computer because
Is it not working? Like, just turn your Wi-Fi off, and it's because it's a landline, you know, and it should work.
I mean, we want to show you some photos as well. So I can. Yeah, this works. I can do it here. Okay.
What really do you think persuaded you to purchase those shoes?
I really like.
Do you have the question?
I like the height of them, like the low cut is in now, and then also I love the stud look.
Questions
They're so studly. No, but you know, this goes this is like so on topic with your project.
Yeah.
You know, it evokes like tough bikers and punks and what else? Kind of like a toughness, you know. So which is really cool,
tough
which is really cool now.
Yeah.
I guess it does. Actually, I just made this.
Oh, really?
Awesome bag. Yeah, using just like a Coach, an old vintage Coach, and I put these studs on.
Cool. Awesome. My brother just made a vest where he studded it himself.
That's great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Just kind of like taking like something that's vintage.
Taking
and, like,
something also that's like very provincial, or you know, it's like a Coach bag. It's like kind of, it's like the bag of women from Westchester. You know, I mean, so. It's kind of interesting to take that and do something.
Just giving it kind of like
rock and roll with it.
Yeah. Just the mixing of the elements. Do you find that the mixing of those two elements lately has been a big trend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for sure.
Okay, so yeah, so before we like kind of show you all the photos, I just want to ask you some like more like general questions about fashion in general.
Okay.
So, first of all, like, how do you think like it's like yeah. So how do you think in general like a fashion trend spreads? Do you think it's like a trickle down effect, or is it more like a trickle up effect?
I think that a fashion trend generally will start on the street with like art kids or young people who are who take you know, let me just start over. It starts with young people who are being creative and using like thrift, you know, and putting things together in interesting ways. And then I think that oftentimes influences designers to then put it on the runway, and then you know, and then sort of the mass market buy stuff. But I do think that it's like there's this sort of like dialectic between the zeitgeist, or however you pronounce digest, like and what designers pick up on is cool, you know, like what are the trends, and the trends, like fashion designers definitely don't like make the trends, they're picking up on stuff that is in society, is in the culture already. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Also, do you want me to look at the camera, or you?
Oh, you can just look at us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So how important do you think like iconic figures and celebrities are to spreading fashion trends?
Absolutely, very. They are like instrumental in spreading a trend. They are people who, you know, have just tons of exposure. So when they wear a dress or certain hairstyle or what have you, or you know, like for instance Michelle Obama and her bangs, it's like lots of people got bangs because of her, and it's because you know, we perceive celebrities as having all these qualities, we want to be like them, and also it's just they're exposed, you know, we see them.
Yeah.
Where do you think these celebrities get their inspiration from?
I think by the time it gets to a celebrity, and we're not talking about like a Lady Gaga or something who's like actually, I think, really kind of spearheading trends, but if you're talking about like a Kristen Stewart or something like that, it's from fashion designers. They get their styles from fashion, but the fashion designers and their stylists. You know, but if we're talking about like a Lady Gaga or something, I think that she kind of operates like a designer, and so she, I think, is having this dialogue with stuff that's happening on the streets, in the art world, and with young people.
could you name any maybe contemporary people besides Lady Gaga and Michelle Obama who really embody the rebel kind of feel?
I mean, I think that Michelle Obama does not.
Well, yeah.
Does not like embody the rebel kind of feel. I mean, she's
Definitely the
middle
opposite
America,
spectrum.
cool middle,
Yeah.
but you know, kind of. You know, she's first lady. But let's see, famous people who embody rebel chic. I guess people who are like living right now. Who would be like Chloe Sevigny, Elizabeth Mosshart, I believe her name is. She's like she's a rock star. I actually don't know what band she's in. Shoot, I'm forgetting her name. She has red hair and she is a singer and she wears crazy outfits. You guys know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't think so.
It'll come to me later. Anyway, yeah, I think like rock and pop are instrumental. Sorry.
Yeah. And why do you think like musicians are usually like the leaders of rebel fashion?
Well, because I think that like rock, pop, and just music in general is about sort of embodying this image. You know, so if you're a band and you want to sort of make your mark in the world, it's much easier to do if you associate yourself with like a look and other ideas through the way you look. You know, so I think also it's like the stage and the like the theater of it.
Yeah.
You know, I think concerts would be really boring if they just kind of like wore like, you know, Dockers and like a button down and
Yeah.
came out, you know, and didn't have any like flavor or style. It's about like defining their type of music. You know.
Yeah.
How do you think that's kind of been portrayed throughout different eras, I guess? Could you give us like some examples maybe in the past of past people who've been able to do this? Because I know that in the 90s they kind of have the grunge feel to it and different bands influence that.
Right.
And that's kind of resurfacing a little bit.
It is. It's interesting. Well, it's like, I think my theory about this just is that the sort of the fashion cycle it goes back to thrift, because I think that it's about a 20-year cycle of what's cool, like 25 years. So, you know, in the early 90s, grunge was cool, and, you know, pointy boots and a whole host of other things. And I think that people give them away to thrift stores, and then young people who are poor or are students buy this stuff and they make it cool again. So, yeah, because you know, in like 2000, the 80s were really, really cool, you know, and when in 1990, the 70s were really, really cool. And that was like kind of that, I cap out at that point, but like, yeah, so I think that's sort of an interesting way of looking at like why historical eras are popular. I think it's just absolutely because it's the clothes that are like available.
Yeah.
So wait, what was the first part of the question? Sorry.
Well, actually,
who are other
yeah.
figures? You know, I mean, there are the iconic people like, you know, like Mick Jagger. I mean, the Beatles. There's from the '70s. There's David Bowie. You know, there's Grace Jones. It's like amazing. There's Blondie. You know, she's like really has a really powerful look about her. And then I don't know. I mean, I guess if you look at any influential, popular band, most of them are tied to fashion. I feel like almost all of them are. You know, so I guess it's just the bigger bands that are the most influential.
Do you want to move on to like specific era questions?
I just have one more question. What do you think gives the rebel in fashion, or rebel chic, what do you think gives it really the endurance that it has, because it's always recurring? And I know we talked about the fashion cycle, and there's always classics that you have, like, you know, that just are always going to be there. But then the rebel's kind of like this underlying
Right.
classic that we don't necessarily say is a key item, but it kind of continues still.
Right. I mean, I think that the sort of like bad girl or the sort of like the tough guy is just, it's like an American, you know, it sort of like, it goes into sort of like the way that we think of ourselves as like a country, you know, it's like the rebel cowboys or like the explorers, the people who are always doing it first, that there's that, and then I think that there's also, you know, it's just this, it's iconic, and it's cool to be a rebel, you know, like to do it your own way, to not go with the grain. I mean, which it's funny because it's like, the rebel look is obviously it's like a trend, so it's really you're not going your own way at all. It's like you're just adopting this style.
Yeah.
But that speaks of like freedom and individuality and doing it your own way. I think that's why people like it, because it speaks of this like unique individualist spirit.
Oh, hi.
Is it okay that we use this room? Hi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll move. Sorry. Sorry.